SURFCAM's PartXplore is a powerful tool for the importation, analysis, and review of CAD models. It's particularly useful if you want to collaborate with your customers to review part features and design changes. The model types that we can open are listed here. Some of them are optional at different levels of PartXplore. Let's take a look at PartXplore. The first thing we're going to do is look at different ways of bringing files into PartXplore. One way is to simply drag and drop each file onto the desktop. Grab this file, click Import, and the file will be there. If we want other files, we just simply drag and drop them. As you notice up at the top of the screen, as we drag each component in, we get a different tab. If I want to get rid of all the tabs, I simply go to Close All and say No to All. We do not want to save the modifications. If I want to bring them in with just a double click, I check the automatic box and double click on each individual file. Once again, I'll close them out. Finally, if we want to bring them in all at once, I can check the import box and select all the files that I want to import. Then we drag and drop them over onto the desktop, and all the files come in as an assembly. PartXplore gives you a number of ways to look at the part on the screen. We have the standard ability to rotate the part, or also to zoom in and out using the middle mouse button. Over on the right hand side, we can pick from several standard views. We can also split the screen up into as many as 4 parts and look at the part individually in each screen. And go back to the main screen. PartXplore gives you the capability of altering the appearance of any model you bring in. For example, we can change the colors simply by clicking on these 3 surfaces and then clicking on the check mark. If we want to hide any of the surfaces, we just click on the Hide button, select the surfaces that we want to hide, and then once again click on the check button. We can alternate those surfaces, show the hidden surfaces or show the previously hidden surfaces just by clicking on that button. We can once again go back to Show All. PartXplore will also let you show wireframes simply by clicking on the Display button. Here we'll show a wireframe, and then we'll show hidden faces. You can use hidden edges with dotted lines, or make any other choice. Once we want to go back to the original, we just choose Shaded with Wireframe. PartXplore will also let you change the appearance of the part by changing the texture. Here we'll move down to Define Textures. I'm going to choose a particular texture for these surfaces. In this case, I'm going to choose a metallic texture. Just select the one we want, and then click OK. Here we've got our metallic texture applied to the part. One of the advantages of PartXplore is the ability to measure your part model very quickly. Here I'm going to measure a single entity such as an arc. When I click on the arc, I get a dimensional pop-up that I can move around to wherever I want it to be. Once I'm done with them, I can just simply undo them and make them disappear. If I want to go to more advanced measurement, I can select 2 entities. In this case, I can measure the distance from the top of the face here to the bottom of the deepest point on the part. You can also measure the Z height between 2 faces. Pick one face, pick the other, and the distance is calculated for us with a pop-up. Can also measure the angle between 2 faces very easily and position that dimension wherever I want it. Once again, we can make them all disappear just by clicking on the Undo button. Another thing that PartXplore does very well is gives you the ability to compare two models, such as a finished part versus a casting, or the original versus a modified. Here I'm going to bring in a couple of models, one on top of the other. We have the ability to look at each one of these models individually just by clicking on the checkbox. If I want to compare them, I check both boxes and then go up to Analysis, and then we select Compare Models. When I click on the checkbox again, then I can look at one model and the other model and compare them. The red is the material to add, the green is the material to remove. If we want to look at the relationship of each model to the other one, we just simply change their position. I can change the opacity to make it easier to view, or I can also make changes to the model by adding some labels to it and showing the material left to remove. If I wanted to remove those labels, I just delete indicators and close. PartXplore has a powerful sectioning capability to look at the part at different angles and orientations. If I go to Analysis, I can move into Sectioning, and I can use the indicator to move up or down in the axis I want to view. Here I'm moving up and down in the XY plane. I can shift it by turning the indicator over on its side and selecting a different plane to view. Once I'm in that plane, I can drag the indicator out and move it in any orientation that I want to. Here we'll select the axis back to normal orientation, and then we'll go and look at another plane. Here I can select a particular plane with the XZ plane, shift to the front face, and then move the indicator in and out to view any cross section in that plane. We'll shift to another plane now and go to YZ and do the same thing. We can also display simply the cross section of the part with dynamic motion by selecting that and moving across the part. Here you can see the sections created as we go. There are other ways to look at it. We can show or hide the indicator here, or display a particular section, or not display it, or show the particular plane we're in. Once we're done, we shift them back to normal and go back to the normal part. PartXplore has the ability to quickly analyze draft angles on surfaces. Here, if I select Draft Angle All and click on the green check mark, I can look at all the draft angles on the part, including the undercuts. If I move over to the Colors tab, you can see how these colors are defined, with red being undercut and green being normal draft angles. When I go back to the Parameters page, I can click Display Only for Min to Max, and that will show me the angles within the range of 0 to 3 degrees. I uncheck that and I go back to the normal. If I want to measure the angles of the individual surfaces, I just check the box for the active cursor and move the cursor where I want to measure the angle. If I want to place the cursor at a particular position, I can hold the control button down and pin the cursor to the part model. If I want to get rid of the cursor, I just delete the indicators. PartXplore has a very powerful feature that will allow you to export your model to anybody to either confirm the design or to question it. To begin, we go to Collaboration Export and click on Client Viewer Export. This will allow us to export an executable model that can be emailed to your customer. Simply click on the check mark and we'll give it a name here for the executable file. I'll call this Test Assembly. We'll click on the Save button and we'll give it a different name here for the part. Revision 1, we'll click OK, and the file will be created. When the executable file is opened, it comes up in a viewer that will enable us to measure the part or view it in different ways. For example, if I go over to the checkboxes here, I can look at the individual components of the assembly simply by checking or unchecking them. We can also zoom in and out and rotate using the middle mouse button, and also change to fixed views by clicking the icons up at the top of the screen. Another possibility is to measure the part. Here I'm going to measure the diameter of the circle at the top of the knob simply by clicking on 3 points. If we want to measure the distance between 2 points, for example on this line, just click on the 2 endpoints. We can make those values appear or disappear by clicking on the checkboxes, or delete them completely by clicking on the red X. So the next time you need to import, analyze, review, and collaborate with your customers, take a look at SURFCAM's PartXplore.